สวัสดีค่ะเพื่อนคนไทยแล้วก็เพื่อนต่างชาติทุกคนนะคะแล้วก็เพื่อนชาวฝรั่งยินดีต้อนรับสู่ Helifreak Build Helicopter นะคะอันนี้เป็นผลิตภัณฑ์ของคนไทยนะคะ Made in Thailand by Thai people สีหมอก90สีหมอก90
Excuse me, English please.
English please? Okay. Welcome to Helifreak Build Helicopter สีหมอก90.
This is the box in ecologically friendly brown, the sr90. Srimo is a name basically, as is Kasama. Mr. Kasama is the man who designed and basically manufactured this. Fairly small box, but don't judge a book by its cover. Let's have a look and see what's inside. Now, this is a virgin box. I've only just popped the tape, so put one hand down in, and lo and behold, that's what we have inside. More boxes. Very elegantly done. Now this would just have to be the neatest packed helicopter I've ever seen, because what's in the box is basically more boxes. There's a little box 1, a big box 2, box 2 and 3. In the main box we've got our long tube components, we've got our instruction manual, and hopefully we're not going to need our Thai phrase book to understand it. First thing, of course, we'll unwrap the manual, have a little look at that. Nice drawing inside. Welcome from Mr. Kasama with an urge to join the Academy of Model Aeronautics, so there you go. Very similar format to the assembly instructions that come with the various Srimok upgrade kits. All in all, it looks very well laid out. It's nicely ring bound. It's good quality semi-glossy paper. There's 40 pages of instructions. That's the sort of the quality of the drawings there. Very technical drawings, as you'd expect from an engineer. Wow, look at that tank plug. Beautifully presented. It's a bit like a lunchbox. I wouldn't mind having a lunchbox with these goodies in there. Absolutely stacked full of sealed polythene bags, all numbered. We'll have a look at these components one by one. Well, this is the contents of bag number 1. I'm pretty gobsmacked by the amount of stuff in here. A lot of bags. I'll just go through and open them one by one and have a look at some of the bits inside. One thing I noticed straight away is that almost every part seems to be laser etched with the part number and of course the Kasama logo. And the bottom frame mount has actually got a serial number on there. So there we are, 09, presumably for 2009. It looks like I've got kit number 174. In bag 1, we have the main engine chassis mount. This is all CNC cut and then beautifully polished aluminium. That's the main mount. This is the engine mount here. And this is going to be attached to the main mount with some of these dampers, which are a bit like the spindle dampers you get in the Srimok heads, and there's O-rings there, and there's also a carbon adapter plate at the bottom if you're going to use an OS engine pump, and that's for mounting it and insulating it off the main engine mount. Bag 2's got our landing gear. Not only do we have aluminium skids, but these are polished up to look like stainless steel. Really impressive. We've even got a little etch mark on there, presumably where the front clamp's going to go. Those of you who've seen Team Kasama will have seen the carbon fibre landing gear, but fear not, we've got our skids supplied. We're not going to have the 3-pronged landing undercarriage that Tiradet's Momentary flew in the Masters. And here's our stainless steel clamps to fix that all up with some M2.5 bolts. These look pretty robust, 2.14 millimeters for what that's worth. One interesting inclusion, don't throw that bit of plastic away, it's a shim to get the skids nice and tight in the struts. On to bag 3, this is where we're starting to get into really interesting engineering. There's a 12-tooth engine pinion with an O-ring, designed to go back into the top of a clutch bell. Looks fairly standard. Looks like we've got the options for putting magnets in the clutch bell. Fairly standard looking item there, nice quality. Looks like, yes, it's a strip liner there. It's got an oblique bevel joint joined there, so it's not a moulded insert like the MA ones. It's a strip. This measures 1.75 millimeters in thickness if you're interested. Now, look at this. We, in some brown wax paper, we have 3 bags, one with YS on it, one with OS on it, and I've taken the OS one out. There's our shaft there, and that's got an internal thread, presumably for the OS thread, and this looks like the starter shaft here, with a little divot there for a hex coupling on the top. Clutch, very unusual, quite a novel design, some fairly substantial meat at the bottom of the shoes. An incomplete clutch. I've never seen one with divots taken out of it like this one has, and a 4-way mounting for the fan. Now this is just, pardon my French, an orgasmic bit of engineering. I've just never seen anything like this. This deserves to be in a jeweler's and not in a helicopter. I mean, this is just incredible. I mean, look at it. There's a sort of a split collet system here for compressing down onto the shaft. And I just can't get over this machining, and it's polishing. These are aerofoil veins on here, and it's just gorgeous. How heavy is it? Well, I'd guess about 20 grams, something like that. Feels pretty light. And that's it for bag number 3. I'm just speechless. Okay, not quite as exciting, but still very nicely done. We have in bag 8 boom mount alloy clamps, which look like they go outside the boom. The boom is 19 millimeters outside diameter. I've not seen one that small before. And of those who are interested, Kasama supplied a carbon fibre boom, which is increasingly rare these days. The main bearing blocks, 3 of those. And you'll be interested to know the internal diameter of the mast is 10 millimeters, so that making it a 10 millimeter mast. Interesting, bearings made in Singapore. Backtrack a little, zoom in a bit down here. We've got a machine bevel pinion gear here, a bearing block for the pinion, and a torque drive coupling shaft down here. So this is all obviously for the takeoff from a bevel gear, I would think, a bit like the MA design, for a torque tube drive. Right, our main hub components, the bevel gear for the torque tube drive takeoff. Substantial, very similar to the MA, the bevel gear there. The main gear, this is very impressive. This is obviously got lathe marks on it. This is machined Delrin, I would say, very substantial. It's got 99 teeth on there. That coupled with the 12 teeth on the engine pinion makes a gear ratio of 8.25 to 1, which is a little bit high. Might just suit the YS motors better than the OS, but I'm no guru in that matter. Now, the pièce de résistance in this packet, bag 10, this is our one-way bearing, and this is a very substantial piece of real estate. It's actually quite heavy as well. You can't see all the guts of it. On the bottom it's got BB-15-K, if that means anything to someone. Almost, it seems like it's got a roller, a ball roller bearing on the top. But it's all sealed in, no lubrication necessary here, it's all enclosed. And I would say that's almost certainly a sprag bearing in there, but I'm not going to be the one to take it to bits to find out what the guts are. On bag 11's got the mast in it, wrapped in wax paper. Interesting mast, beautifully machined. It's got on the step. It's got a step on one end. Maybe that's for a smaller ID bottom block bearing. A hole at the top, which presumably take the Jesus bolts, and a hole partly way up, no doubt, for the main gear poly. Again, beautiful piece of work of art. Heavy, but solid, and I'd say that's almost certainly a hardened bit of steel. This is a fascinating bag, bag 12, which I don't fully understand yet. This is a clutch bearing block, which basically takes the starter shaft and output from the clutch. It's mounted upright in the frames, but it's got a side damper down here. Almost looks like a bearing, but I think it's a damper. And it's got some O-rings and a compression device and a couple of thumb screws. And this is for basically adjusting the bearing block. so that it doesn't bind during movement of the frame. I don't fully understand that. I'll have to assemble it, obviously, to really work out what it's going to do, but I know this is one of Kasama's proud achievements that he's rightly very pleased with. Well, box 1's just about worn me out, but anyway, not to worry, we'll have a cup of coffee and move on. This is box 2, and in box 2 we have a moth, but I think that came from me and not from Thailand. We have got a thing which looks like a radio mount for the front, for the electronics. We've got a fan shroud. Looks like it's a nice moulding as we'd expect, can't see any flash on there. Underneath we have our canopies, our side frames, side frames and tank mounts and canopy mounts. I'm not sure what that gizmo with the bearing is. And our carbon fibre frames have got some bushes inserted in there. And inside our canopy we have got our tank. What about that for a thing of beauty? Now that's interesting because the original tank I saw was mounted obliquely. I don't know if this one's going to be. But look at that, four spouts in the nozzle. So goodness knows where they're all going to go, but we will see later. Now our canopy is, you probably guys know, be very careful not to get oily fingerprints on this, as this is unpainted. Voila, that's our fiberglass canopy. Nice sharp nose on that, good for tracking in 3D manoeuvres. So not even any pigment in there, just the naked glass fibre. But that's okay. It's light, it's very nicely moulded indeed, seamlessly joined there. But, oh, and look at that, it's now this is really considerate. Holes ready drilled for the grommets and for the starter shaft. I like that. Also probably for the mounts at the front. Nothing irritates me more than having to drill holes in fiberglass canopies. Box 2 being dispensed with, onto box 3. Carbon servo mounting equipment. This is interesting. This looks like some of the torsion push rods to the servos. It's like we've got some washout arms and block there. More servo torsion connectors and possibly a servo tray, I would say, just down there. No idea what bag 24 is. Anti-rotation device for the swash plate and some carbon paraphernalia. This is our esoteric swash with the kinky backward facing ball links on the inner swash. Very unusual. I must ask Kasama why he wanted to have these backward facing swashes rather than the conventional. One thing is strikes me, they're probably a bit less likely to getting pinged off in a smash. Not that we're ever going to smash this heli. These bits will be familiar with you. Anybody who's done Kasama upgrades will recognise the rotor head and the seesaw. Bag of bits for the rotor head, our metal grips, all very familiar stuff, spindle, bolts. Interesting little push rod down here. I would think that's for the tail servo, but I could easily be mistaken. Time will tell. Bag 23, our last bag. Got our right-angled gearbox, self-enclosed, ready-made, ready to go gearbox with bevel gears. Not sure whether there'll be any end floats possible to adjust on that. Time will tell. We have a vertical fin in there, and I think we've got a horizontal fin looking there as well. That's it, apart from the long bits. Long bit box is box 4 with a funny looking torque tube. Looks like it's camouflaged. Either that or somebody's been cleaning the paintbrush on it during manufacture. Yeah, what this is all about, but check out the torque tube. Eastern Cameo Hunter, can you make that out? And with our camouflage colours. One bearing about 1/3 of the way along the shaft, and these are Looks like aluminium, black anodized aluminium. Couplings on the end down there. Very interesting, very unusual, very Kasama. Our boom support struts, good substantial moulded ends on those, our fly bar and our carbon fibre tube I showed you earlier. So that's it, that's what's in the box. I haven't been this excited about building a heli since the MA Stratus, so time to put this together and get on with it.